Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 473 to 474 for the 11th to the 12th of June. And do press the subscribe button because I want to grow this channel, the DPA War channel, as well as the main channel to at least 100k. So definitely there is the market for it because so many channels are bigger than 100k. So yeah, please help me to get there. And let's start off with statements from Russia. The Russian Defense Ministry have decreed that all volunteer forces within the Russian special military operation has to now sign contract to become servicemen of the Russian Defense Ministry. So this is applied to basically everyone's. The Chechen forces has already signed it on the 12th of June or 11th of June. And then in the latest posting from the Russian Defense Ministry, volunteer assault corps, the volunteer corps also started to sign these contracts, which means that they are all going to become seen as actual Russian troops. So I'm not sure how this is going to change things, because according to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that this is going to change the way how they manage all these things. And the good part is that the salary, the insurance and everything will be applied to all these volunteers. So it will, at least for the volunteer side, they will get the recognition, and they'll probably be eligible for medals and all sorts of things. Probably they're already eligible for that, but it's now more formalized. However, this is entirely denounced by the Wagner private military contractors. They basically came out, all the different commanders all came out with their own statements denouncing the Russian Defense Ministry. Prigozhin himself also just say not so kind about all these things. So there we may not see Wagner forces anywhere anytime soon in the special military operations, given the standoff now between the Russian Defense Ministry and the Chechen with the Wagner forces, because of this standoff about military contracts. I believe that in the near future, without this contract signing to put all the volunteers under the payroll and contract of the Russian Defense Ministry, they are not allowed to be operating within the special military operation. I believe that will be the case. And I think this entire thing, half of it might actually be something to do with how the Wagner forces has been undermining the Russian Defense Ministry with all their statements and criticism of the Russian Defense Ministry. And moving on, there is Ka-52 shot down over Ukraine. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, exact locations is unknown, probably most likely along the Zaporizhzhia front, where the Ka-52s are very, very active, hunting down armored vehicles. Moving into the southern front, again we have another Sukhoi 25 getting shot down over the same region. So previously we already have two aircraft getting shot down over Babine. There's already two. The previous time I did mention, I said it wrong. It's a Sukhoi 25. I say MiG-25. My apologies. It's not a MiG-25. Ukrainians do not have the Foxbat. This time now is shot down over Makarivka. It's also a Sukhoi 25. And this is extremely suspicious. Why is so many Ukrainian attack aircraft operating within this region here? So you have to start questioning this. And I have to say that the reservoir area, part of this Dnipro River between the Dnipro dam and the Kakhovka dam. This part of the river is also known as the Kakhovka, I think the reservoir, Kakhovka reservoir or something. This lake river thingy place has fallen, the water level has fallen by so much. I suspect that with a good, I have to emphasize, a good track vehicles, you'll be able to basically cross across the entire river without getting stuck, just without worrying about sinking and dying inside the water. Because the water is basically, if you look at satellite images, it's just going to be a sandbanks, and as long as you don't get stuck in the mud, the Ukrainian forces can actually just cross over with land forces. That's how significant the water level have dropped. So there are theories about how this is a switch between what big water body versus small water body that switch around. Now the big water body is now along the Kherson city region after the Kakhovka Dam, and the one before has fallen into become a smaller river kind of thing. And we shall see whether the Ukrainians will actually cross in this way. But if they do, then it will become very, very suspicious that the dam is actually blown up by the Ukrainians. Tentatively, no one knows who exactly blew up the dam. Is it the Russians or is it the Ukrainians, or is it just a natural degradation of the infrastructure due to consistent bombardments? It's unknown. Everyone is blaming each other. DPA stance is we don't know. So, but if the Ukrainians took the advantage, then there is good case to believe that this is actually planned, because together a major force in this region here to attack, especially in a short time period, means it was planned. So tentatively, this is not yet the case yet, but the water level is extremely low right now, and there are photos showing that previously I mentioned the water the dam here is the floodgates is totally opened. Now it's totally closed, or at least probably very, very close. So it's just unusual. A lot of weird things happening, and I believe that we are probably going to see Russian forces going to start reinforcing this area here, because this is going to be pretty problematic. And this is actually pretty good for the Ukrainians if they do attack, because you can see the entrenchment is all here. There's not a lot of known entrenchment in this area except this line here. So anyway, I will talk more about this in another analysis video, but I just want to tell you the context regarding this shoot down, because it's not usual. You don't sacrifice attack aircraft in a totally useless place. And over at the Zaporizhzhia front, there is the Ukrainians actually re-attack Lubkove, and apparently, according to the Surya maps, they say that they have kind of captured most of it in a way, and they managed to attack further towards Lubkove. However, the attack has stopped because of minefields, and there is also in this attack, Surya Maps reported that the Russians actually withdrew from Lubkove. So when the Ukrainians attacked, the Russians actually withdrew because that's just what the Russians do, and the Ukrainians did not bother to try to secure the town. They pushed on and then hit the minefield. So that's what happened. So Lubkove technically now is still not under Ukrainian control. It's not officially under Ukrainian control. So there is some rumors saying that it is. My stance is not. It's just not. It's just in the gray zone. It's still overlapping border. And moving on to, that's all from the Kamyanske. There's also shelling reported at Lukyanivske. This is a reinforcement from the Ukrainians getting hit, getting shelled. So the Ukrainians are moving probably, and they got shelled, and it's a bit unclear what they got hit by. Moving into the Orikhiv sector, the Ukrainians continue their attacks over at Novosilka, south of Malatomashka and south of Novodanilivka. Shelling is being reported at Novodanilivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. The fighting at south of Novodanilivka is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, which also reported the other two locations. They did not mention in details what happened. They just said that the Russian forces managed to hold the line. And so there's a possibility that this entire salient here is no longer here. I think the front line is go back to this place, but we shall see how. There is also footages coming out of the Russians overrunning the positions where the Ukrainians famously lost multiple Bradleys and one Leopard tanks in one specific location. So the Russian soldiers are there taking footages, picking up trophies and stuff. And apparently one of the Bradleys is still working. The engine is still working. It just got detracked. So we're probably gonna see some trophies appearing in Moscow pretty soon, someday, I guess. And moving on, in the Hulyaipole sector. I just want to share for those that are not familiar with my reporting. If you are very new to this channel, the Zaporizhzhia Front. This is the Zaporizhzhia Front. It's split into 4 different sectors. We have the Kamyanske sector, Orikhiv sector, Hulyaipole sector, and the Velyka Novosilka sector. So these 4 sectors combined, I also call it the Zaporizhzhia line, because it's one line of defense that protects the entire reinforcement and communication route in the north. So this is the Zaporizhzhia line, and these are all the different sectors, and with all surrounding major hub towns where the road go in and out in the hub. You see, these are all hubs. So at the Hulyaipole sector, the Ukrainian forces reportedly attacked towards Donetsk. However, as they are advancing, they got hit by artillery, so they did not manage to actually even reach the front line. And after losing 2 tanks and 2 IFV and 1 IMR, what is the IMR? Infantry. I'm not sure what's IMR. And so maybe it's a mistranslation. And then the Ukrainian forces actually, after bombardment, have to retreat. So did not even reach the front line. So that's all from the Hulyaipole sector. There is a S-300 radar getting destroyed by the Russian forces, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, at this location called Hi. Hi, everyone. Hi. Press the like button, and press the subscribe if you are new to this channel. And if you are not new to this channel and not subscribed, slap your backside, then you know. And anyway, so the destruction of the S-300 radar is usually I don't put this such information because they always report about destroying artillery radars, surface-to-air missile radar, surface-to-air missile locations. But because the lack of air defense for the Ukrainian side, a destruction of the S-300 radar does seem that there is some S-300 operating within this area here, just off Porovsky, and this is well within the S-300 range. S-300 can operate at a very, very huge range. So, but anyway, I think this is pretty significant given the lack of air defense. So, but it also does shows that the Ukrainians still do have air defense systems around. So this is the significance of this information. And over at the Velyka Novosilka sector, which is one hell of a mess over here, we start off with the simpler part first. Over at Novosilka, the Ukrainian source, the pro-Ukrainian source Deep State UA, reported that they have declared on their mapping that Novosilka have been captured. And Levadny, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that the Ukrainian forces attack from Levadny, and this made me assess that Levadny has been captured by the Ukrainian forces. And this is then corroborated with information coming from Ryba, the pro-Russian source, saying that the Ukrainian forces is now doing demining operations at Levadny and Novosilka. The demining operations in this sector is very important because if not, you cannot really launch proper offensives into the Russian controlled territory if you are constantly having to avoid mines. And on top of that, there is also reinforcement reported at Novosilka and pulling in reserves, and there is then reports of concentration of Ukrainian forces over at Novosilka and Levadny. So this is definitely poised to be the first phase of an offensive, capturing some grounds. Then from the new grounds, you launch offensive to push the front line backwards. And this is the success that I has been talked about. I made a video I put in the main channel, which is the operational report for the Ukrainian armed forces, and I say that the entire offensive has failed after 3 days, because this is what I expect them to do within the first 3 days, and they did not manage to do that until we're coming to many days later. So this is important. Then they can actually continue to attack. The fighting was reported from Levadne, so this was what I mentioned just now according to the Russian Defense Ministry, but they did not manage to get to anywhere. It was not mentioned where they are fighting to. I believe it's going towards Priyotne. And moving on from this side of the Velyka Novosilka sector, we go to Velyka Novosilka sector. The Ukrainian forces actually managed to capture Zaporizhzhia, with the Ukrainian forces moving in, taking photos, and then they proceeded to raid Makarivka. And in the beginning, they actually seem to have captured most of Makarivka. However, so information was coming from Surya maps about the capture of Zaporizhzhia, and then they actually attacked Makarivka. So however, the Russian forces then counter-attack. So the fighting actually started from the night time. The Russian forces actually withdrew. This is reported by the pro-Russian source. Then, however, the Russian forces then went on a counter-attack. And so Remlin 21, a pro-Russian source, also reported that with air support, the Russian forces launched a counter-attack with the support of artillery as well. So by today, so the Russian forces counter-attack. And as of 10 a.m. this morning, in local time, according to the pro-Russian source, Ryba, the fighting is still ongoing at the Makarivka region. And according to their information, the settlement basically changed hands 3 times. And tentatively, the village is currently controlled by the Russian forces. And based on the previous information from Ryba, the fighting is actually in the northern outskirts of Makarivka, after the successful counterattack. However, Deep State UA reports they mapped it as Makarivka has been captured by the Ukrainian forces. So I just want to explain how Deep State UA come to this conclusion. Because when the Ukrainian forces first reached Makarivka, there was literally no Russian forces there, or very few Russian forces was in the village. There is video footages of the Ukrainian forces moving in, the tanks firing, some artillery, and then they take photo at Makarivka. But that was the initial attack. The initial attack that basically they rode into Makarivka, and I suspect that in all likelihood, given the lack of resistance within the village, it means that the village is actually unoccupied by the Russian forces. The Russian forces have already withdrawn in the night time after the fighting in the night. And as they roll in, they take the photo. And the videos, that's where Deep State UA, based on the video footages, concluded that Makarivka has been captured by the Ukrainian forces. And to be honest, they were reluctant to acknowledge this, because initially Deep State UA actually saw the announcement by the Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine saying that they have captured Makarivka. However, they did not want to acknowledge this. They say that they want the Ukrainian troops to have a stronghold to really clear the village before they want to declare about the capture. And then they repeated this information again in a separate post. They say they can only talk about the capture of Makarivka after the Ukrainian forces have a foothold. However, I think under pressure from the public, and because of the footages, they cannot hold back the announcement of the capture, so they now map it as under Ukrainian control. However, the most likely situation is what Ryba is talking about, that the fighting is actually still ongoing within Makarivka. There's the chances that the Ukrainians have captured Makarivka is actually pretty low, given the fact that most pro-Russian sources, if not all, is highly insistent that the fighting is still ongoing in Makarivka. So I have to put this into consideration. So the Ryba actually first reported they reported about the Russian withdrawing back to the Makarivka Uruzhaine line. So previously the Russians were, you know, at Blahodatne and Zaporizhzhia, and then they have to redraw into the next line of defense, which is in Makarivka. So however, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry still talk about fighting at Blahodatne. They say that the Russian forces were attacking towards Blahodatne, which is the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, I have already complained about them for a week or more already, because in recent times, because the Ukrainians are on the offensive, they kept saying that the Russians are the one that is attacking. So it just put them into, you know, disrepute. Further south, in the southwest, this Uruzhaine on the other side of the river, the Ukrainians actually managed to overrun all these grounds where the Russians do not really have major defense lines around this area here. We already see on the first day of the main offensive, with the Ukrainians able to, you know, capture this area pretty easily, because there's literally nothing much there. So the Ukrainians have overtook this, and they were attacking Uruzhaine. And fighting is particularly heavy over here as well. Surya Maps reported that fighting has reached Uruzhaine, and Ryba also reported that the battles are fighting in the near to the town. And on the 12th of June, the next day, which is yesterday, the Russian forces continue to hold the positions at Uruzhaine, with the Ukrainians continue to attack Uruzhaine. On the opposite side of the river at Staromayoske, there is fighting reported at Staromayoske on the 11th of June. So the Ukrainians, after, you know, taking Makarivka, actually tried to push to Staromayoske. However, this attack probably went south, given the fact that we did not hear of them anymore. The fighting is now only talked about within Makarivka. So so that's all from the situation along the MOKRI river. Otherwise, the Russian Defense Ministry reported shelling at Velyka, Novosilka, at Nekoshne on both days, as well at Zaporizhzhia. So fighting here is I think very fierce. Over at the Donetsk Front, part of the Velyka Novosilka sector, where the Ukrainians are launching their offensive, the Ukrainians are attacking Novodonetsk and Novomayoske. Wait. Yeah. So this is reported by the pro-Russian source Ryba. They say that the Ukrainians continue to they try to break through the Russian positions at Novodonetsk and Novomayoske lines. However, they were forced to retreat. So the Russians definitely don't play the retreat route here, the retreat game here. They forced the Ukrainians to retreat from this area here. I wonder if it has something to do with the initial loss of Novodonetsk in the early days of the Ukrainian offensive, which probably caused some difficult defensive positions for the Russians, because the Ukrainians actually penetrate all the way down to Oktyabrsk, and then maybe the Russians feel that no, this is stupid, so they needed the Novodonetsk to be held so that it's more defendable. I guess this is just my perception from the way how the things have developed, from the way how they wrote it, and the way how I read it. And shelling is being reported at Oktyabrsk and as well as near Novodonetsk on the 11th of June. And the shelling over here actually invalidated Remlin 21's claim that the Ukrainians actually have recaptured most of this. The Russians have recaptured most of these in the previous time. So there might be the case where the Ukrainians actually repenetrated towards Oktyabrsk. So anyway, this is the situation, a very complicated situation over this area here. Shelling reported at Pashestivka on the 12th of June, which might be something to do with the Ukrainian attack over towards Novomayoske. And there's nothing happening over at the Voleda region. And at the and the Marinka region, the Ukrainian forces attacked from the north and towards Marinka. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry on the 12th of June. And however, and on the 11th of June, they also mentioned about the Ukrainians attacking at Makarivka. This information, however, is disputed or contradicted by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, saying that they are actually defending against Russian attacks over at Makarivka. So the very interesting information is that the Russians say that the Ukrainians attacked 8 times on the 11th of June. And then the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that the Russians attacked 14 times or 12 times, which is, yeah, very funny. I just thought that, they can't even, they can't even make the difference between who is actually attacking. Yeah. And moving into the Avdiivka Front, at the Avdiivka Front, the Ukrainian forces attacked at Pervomayskoye and Krasnohorivka, as well as towards Novosilka. So they were attacking in this area here. Information coming from the Russian Defense Ministry, as they mentioned, Novosilka, Krasnogorovka, Pervomayskoye. And so this is reported on the 11th of June. On the 12th of June, Pervomayskoye continued to see attack. However, the northern flank no longer have any more attack. So the Ukrainians are still trying to eliminate this entire this piggy here. There's this pig here, and then there's this frog over here, and that's a lousy frog. So yeah, they are trying to kill off these 2 flanks to protect Avdiivka. However, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry still reports that the Russians are attacking towards Avdiivka on the 11th and on the 12th. There is a video footage allegedly coming from the Avdiivka region. Most likely it's within this area here where there's a lot of forest of Ukrainian, the entire company of Ukrainian mechanized infantry along with their BMP surrender to the Russian forces. I would say that it looks legitimate, but take it with a pinch of salt, because it could be also misinformation trying to encourage the Ukrainians to surrender without fighting. The story was that the commander have so many casualties, that the Ukrainian commanders saw so many casualties, and the Ukrainian command refused to allow them to withdraw to the rear, so they decided to defect. So yeah, just take it with a pinch of salt. Over at the New York Front, we suddenly have some activities. Fighting is being reported at Novosilka. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. They say that there is Ukrainian reconnaissance operating towards Novosilka, and they eliminated it. Shelling is being reported at New York. That airstrike is actually reported against strongholds at Novogorovskoye, which is actually New York. And that's all from the New York Front. Moving into the Bakhmut Front. At the Bakhmut Front, we have fighting reported towards Bilohora, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 11th of June. As usual, I think the Ukrainians are the one attacking, because Makarivka on the 12th of June reported that the Ukrainians have some advance in the canal region. But he don't do mapping, so we do not know what does he actually mean. And over at Klishevka, the Ukrainian forces were attacking Klishevka, according to Makarivka. Same report. Shelling is being reported at Klishevka. Airstrike was hitting Ukrainian positions. And then towards Ivanyske, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that the Russians are attacking towards Ivanyske. This is contradicted by information from the Russian Defense Ministry, because they say that the Ukrainians are attacking in the area of Ivanyske. However, whatever it is, there is a shelling reported at Ivanyske, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And so the fighting here is ongoing. The scale of the fighting is unclear. It's not so clear how big is the Ukrainian offensive over at this region, as they try to attack Klishevka from multiple directions. The Russian lines are holding at the moment, so we shall continue to monitor to see whether we can get more information about them. Over at the northern flank, there is fighting reported in the Bakhmut region. According to Makarivka, the Ukrainians also attacked in this area, managed to capture several hundreds of meters, which is nobody know where it is, because Makarivka, as a source, is not that reliable, because he doesn't do mapping, so nobody know what exactly he's talking about. Sometimes it just feel like cheerleading. So Yeah, so Myroshnikov no longer is a primary source or a primary secondary source. It's just as a supplementary secondary source. That's all from the Bakhmut front. At the Siversk front, in the latest information, we have Russian Defense Ministry reporting that the Ukrainians attack in the area of Novosilka and towards Yakovlivka. This is again another attack towards the Soledar region. So Soledar is here. This is Soledar, and then the Ukrainians are now attacking in this direction here. Of course, the arrow is a bit big. They are actually only just here. So the fighting is ongoing. However, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 12th of June reported that fighting is near Velyka, saying that the Russians are attacking Velyka, which I believe is another projection. Most likely, is actually the Ukrainians attacking in the area of Velyka towards Yakovlivka, which is actually reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. And so again, we now see this advance again, which, yeah, happening again. We shall see how this develop, whether the Ukrainians actually have enough forces to actually do this, or does the Russians have enough defenders in this area here. Myroshnikov, I think it's Myroshnikov, mentioned in his posting that he said that the Russian forces at the Bakhmut front has the most troops, which is yeah, a bit unusual. So I'm not sure if that is true, but it's just rumors. Take it as a rumor. Continuing at the Siversk front, there is fighting reported at Bilohorivka. The Russian forces are attacking Bilohorivka on the 11th and on the 12th, reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. The Russian Defense Ministry reported airstrikes at Bilohorivka, so I'm not sure if there's actually an attack, in that sense, towards Bilohorivka, or it's just shelling interpreted as an attack. Moving into the Kreminna Front, Ukrainian forces were attacking near Kryhorivka. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, I believe it's near the river, within the Siversk forestry region. Shelling is being reported within the Siversk forestry on the 11th and on the 12th, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. At Dibrova, there is also shelling reported on the 11th and on the 12th. The Ukrainian launched an attack from Toske, most probably towards Dibrova, might be related to the shelling at Dibrova. So according to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that it's a sabotage and reconnaissance group close to Toske. However, then they proceeded to say that the Ukrainian losses is over 50 soldiers, 2 tanks, 1 IFV, 3 motor vehicles, 1 self-propelled artillery, and 3 howitzers, which is a bit much for a reconnaissance. So I believe this is actually an offensive operation. Yeah, but it did not go far, from what I can see. Further up north, there is shelling reported at Terny and Nevsky on the 11th and on the 12th. And that's all from the Kreminna Front, which is here. And moving into the Svatove Front, at the Svatove Front, there is fighting reported at Avdiivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Otherwise, you have shelling reported at Myazozarivka and at Stemakivka. And that's all from the Svatove Front. Nothing much. This is just typical reconnaissance, I believe. It's not an offensive. Over at the Kupyansk Front. At the Kupyansk Front, we have shelling reported by the Russian Defense Ministry at Tabaivka, Kotelevka, Khyslivka, and also at Ivanivka. So a lot of shelling over the past 2 days. So shell. And then also at Petropavlivka and Sikivka. So information, these are airstrikes at Petropavlivka and Sikivka shelling. And then Ukrainian forces were attacking Liman Pershi. This is reported by the Ryba, the pro-Russian source, saying that they are attacking the Russian forces. However, the attack has been repelled. Then there is information of reinforcement reported at Kupyansk. So the Ukrainian forces were transferring reinforcement to Kupyansk and strengthening their advanced position. Advanced position refers to the front line, or probably the secondary line. So they are definitely preparing for something at least. especially we have this attack against Liman Pershi. So this must be something happening over at the Kupyansk Front. And further up north of the Kupyansk Front, there is attack on Novosilka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Again, we have this sabotage and reconnaissance group claims. However, the losses again is a bit high. 30 Ukrainian soldiers were killed, 2 pickup trucks, 1 crab artillery, 1 M109, 1 D20 howitzer, and it's just a bit much for a reconnaissance. You know, why are you reconnaissance with artillery support? So this probably an attack, and there's shelling reported near Novosilka on the 12th, and probably is referring to the shelling and counter artillery actions against the Ukrainian artillery that is supporting the attack on Novosilka. So the Ryba has the pro-Russian source has confirmed, or rather reiterate that this bridgehead over at the north and the south of Vorishna, west of Makarivka. Okay, I zoom in a bit more. I think probably easier to see. So the Russians have a bridgehead over at Novosilka. They have crossed the river, and also at the western part of Makarivka, which is also they cross the river. These two, according to Ryba, continue to exist. So so this is just something I just want to highlight, that the information is still, insisted by the pro-Russian sources that the bridgehead is still here, and that the Russian forces in the future could actually do a pincer on Vorishna. So yeah, so this is still ongoing. Shelling is reported at Krasna Pershi, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, further up north. And that's all from the Kupyansk Front. We have nothing over at the Kharkiv Front. And yeah, this is the entire summary for the day of 473 to 474 for the 11th to 12th of June. Do subscribe if you are new to this channel, or if you have been watching DPA stuff and you're not subscribed. Yeah, please do me a service. Please help me. Press the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next update.